Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Killian, I'll be back. Welcome back. You are listening to Three Guys in a Flick. This is where we review the good, the bad, and the absurd. Tonight's episode, The Running Man. Beware spoilers. Coming to you from ICS Studios, my name is Don, and to my right we have our comic book guy, John.
It's showtime.
And to my left we have the Professor, Ken.
Hey, cutie pie. You know, one of us is in deep trouble. You know who I am?
Yeah, you're the asshole on that podcast.
That's funny. I was going to say the same thing about you.
But well done, Professor. Well done. How you guys doing tonight?
Well,
Done.
I am revved up and ready to go.
All right. Tonight is round 2 of our search for the greatest 80s action flick out there. Last week we kicked it all off with Cobra. And this week we are talking about the 1987 Running Man, which was released on November 13th, 1987. It was directed by Paul Michael Glaser, the screenplay by Stephen E. D'Souza, based on the book by The Running Man by Stephen King under the pen name of Richard Bachman. And it stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, María Conchita Alonso, Yaphet Kotto, Richard Dawson, and a bunch of other actors. So The Running Man, I think, was on all of our lists, and we put those lists together after we had come up with some criteria for what we would consider the greatest 80s action movie. And just to give you a quick rundown, the criteria for the Three Guys' greatest 80s action flicks are: a muy macho hero with quotable one-liners played by a recognizable star. Over-the-top villain. A montage sequence. Over-the-top chase scenes. Epic fight scenes. A villain's speech or monologue. A final showdown. And oh crap death for our bad guy. Franchise potential. Around a 90-minute runtime. And a high body count. So when we think of The Running Man, I mean, it check marks a bunch of these boxes, doesn't it?
I think it almost hits all of them. I don't recall if there's a montage sequence
There
anywhere
is
in
not,
this movie.
Nor is there a over-the-top chase scene.
I kind of consider some of the running scenes, like when he's being chased by Dynamo, but it's not, like you're saying, it's not an over-the-top kind of running scene.
No, not at all.
Not a good chase scene.
When we talk about 80s action movies, the writer, Stephen E. D'Souza, he is definitely a giant in this field. He has a lot of writing credits under his belt. He is responsible for 48 Hours in 82, Commando in 85, Die Hard in 88, Die Hard 2 in 90, another 48 Hours in 90, Beverly Hills Cop 3 in 94, and there's a lot of other ones, but he is Mr. Action Movie Guy. So we should be hearing this name again.
Yeah, we'll definitely hear his name again, and I just kind of want to bring up real quick. Last week we talked about Cobra, which Stallone did the screenplay, and here we have a seasoned guy who, you know, has written many screenplays, especially for action, and I tell you, I can tell the difference night and day on it.
No shit.
You know what I mean?
No shit. It is a whole level above.
How did this movie do, Don?
This movie was made for $27 million, and it brought in $38 million.
I find that so hard to believe that Cobra brought in $160 million, and this movie only brought in $38 million.
Running Man was released in November, and the studios, they were familiar with this, right? And also, it's the temperance of the audience. The audience in general, they weren't going for action movies. The top action movie for 1987 was Lethal Weapon. and that came in at number 8. The rest of them, mostly comedies. Beverly Hills Cop 2, 3 Men and a Baby. And most of the top 10 movies, they were comedies. And so there doesn't seem to be that much of an appetite in the audience for action movies at this time.
Yeah. So that would explain the box office, I don't want to say failure, but I mean, looking at it.
Tepidness.
Yeah, they made $11 million over more than it cost to make it. That's not, I mean, that's still a loss.
Well,
right?
I feel bad for their producer. I guess his name is George Linder. He sold his company to finance this movie.
Oh, there are hundreds of producers that have sold their company to finance movies and it never pays off. But yeah, that's got to suck.
This movie could have been really different depending on who they cast as Ben Richards. Of course, they went with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I guess up for the role was also Dolph Lundgren, Don Johnson, and Christopher Reeve.
Oh, really?
Could you see any of them playing this role?
I think the only one that pops out at me to play Ben Richards at the time would have been Christopher Reeve.
I think that would have been a real interesting take with him because he always was so good at playing kind of that innocent looking character, kind of that, put into this mess. I also feel like the Christopher Reeve would have fit better with Stephen King's interpretation of Ben Richards in the book.
The movie took a lot of liberties with it. I think that it took me by surprise when I did watch it. It says based on the book by Richard Bachman. And then, come to find out that Richard Bachman is Stephen King. I'm like, oh, this is a Stephen King story, But I think kind of like with all the other Stephen King stories, I think the book probably goes into detail that's really hard to make cinematic. So when they turned it into a movie and to make it the way they did, you can see the essence of Stephen King's book in it. But I think that the filmmakers did right by making what we got.
The interesting thing regarding, you just brought up the differences between the movie and the book version, which I guess they announced in 2021, they're remaking The Running Man, and it's going to be closer to the book version.
Of course they are.
And in the book version, of course, the book takes place in 2025. I already mentioned that Ben Richards is a scrawny guy. He's out of work. He can't make money for his family. So he agrees to go on to the Running Man show. He's not drafted in. He's not forced in. He agrees to it. In the book, it also that the Running Man takes place over 30 days where you get paid for pretty much every hour you live while hunters hunt you anywhere in the world. And one of the requirements is you have to send in twice a day video cassettes of you, or videotaping recordings of you, just doing some kind of dialogue to show that you're still out there and still alive. So it follows this character all over the place while he's hunted by, these hunters, and just regular citizens are after him as well because they can make money for catching him. So it's an interesting storyline. It kind of makes me want to go and read the book now. One thing I really like about the movie is it was different from other, I think, action movies out there. It was nice to kind of see this game show kind of look and feel. It was almost a game show / video game. And it went on to inspire TV shows like American Gladiator.
I loved American Gladiator. You guys ever watch that?
Oh,
yeah,
all
I
the
used
time.
to watch it, yeah.
I dug that show in a big way.
Yeah. Jesse the Body Ventura's character always reminded me of the American Gladiator, and I'm sure that's probably what they based it on.
Mm-hmm. Captain Freedom.
Captain Freedom. All right, what else you guys want to talk about? We said the cast. Oh, this also stars María Conchita Alonso. I think when I think of her, I think of two films. I think of Colors with Sean Penn and Robert Duvall, and I think of Predator 2. She and Danny Glover take on the Predator, which was also taken on by Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was in this movie with Yaphet Kotto from Alien fame, and Richard Dawson from The Family Feud.
I will always remember him from Hogan's Heroes.
That's where I go to first.
I'll see. I go to Family Feud.
I get that because that was, his longest run.
Yeah, but Hogan's Heroes, now that you say that.
Back when the host could actually make out with the contestants.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Yeah, he would kiss them all the time. Yeah. And, I wonder if it was fun for him to play a rated R version of that. Because, he's the same guy, right? When he's on the show for the Running Man, but in the studio or in backstage, get the fucking guy, or, I mean, he's just kind of a dick.
I guess they went and they interviewed people who worked with him behind the scenes at Family Feud, and they said when he wasn't on camera, when he was backstage, he was Killian from Running Man. That's exactly how he was.
Oh, that's funny.
Richard Dawson admitted to that as well. He says, that's more or less, that's pretty much me.
This film was directed by Paul Michael Glaser. And if that name sounds familiar to you, he was Starsky from Starsky and Hutch.
Totally.
I fucking love Starsky and Hutch.
Well, I think also the fact of he created one of the other greatest movies ever made, The Cutting Edge.
Wait, hang on. The ice skating one?
The ice skating one. I'm kidding.
No, he's not.
I know he's
Maybe.
not. That's why I'm fucking looking at him like this. The fucking Cutting Edge?
The Cutting Edge, the second greatest ice skating movie ever made.
What's the first greatest ice skating movie ever made?
Blades of Glory.
You guys know who did the music for this?
Harold Faltermeyer.
Right?
Right on.
You saw his name and you went, what the fuck?
Absolutely.
I totally did. Because back in 87 when I saw this, there was no way, that would have rung a bell to me. Probably not then. But now you look at it and you go, oh, Harold Faltermeyer. And what did we just watch that he did?
Top Gun.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, so Harold Faltermeyer is always fun in a fucking 80s movie. By 2017, the United States has become a totalitarian police state following a worldwide economic collapse and the recent election. The government pacifies the populace through violent TV shows, its most popular being The Running Man, a broadcast game show where criminals fight for their lives as runners, fleeing from armed mercenaries named stalkers to earn a government pardon. Ben Richards, a police helicopter pilot, is framed for a massacre during a food riot in Bakersfield, California. He is arrested by his colleagues and put in a labor camp. 18 months later, he escapes with two resistance fighters, Harold Weiss and William Laughlin, finding refuge in their camp led by their leader, Mick. The resistance group looked to hijack the ICS Broadcast Network's uplink facility to expose the government's lies. Richard declines to help, then heads to his brother's apartment, finding it now occupied by Amber Mendez, a composer, learning his brother was sent to a re-education camp.
So we open on this red-backed word scroll. What do you think of that word scroll?
Being a graphic designer by day, had to love the font type.
Oh my God, dude. The font type made me want to gouge my eyes out.
It was so 80s. I mean,
It was Commodore 64.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It just reminded you of everything pixelated and computery back then.
It reminded me of Escape from New York. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if the graphics are the same or whatnot, but Escape from New York came out in 81, 82. And if you're telling me that our graphics didn't get better by 87, I mean, come on, right?
They looked a little silly.
Right. And then I don't mind when movies open with scrolls so much, and it does set the narrative and kind of gives us an idea of where we're at when the movie starts. But yeah, I don't want to say hokey.
It felt like an 80s arcade game.
Yeah.
And the way the Running Man looked.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Plunk my quarter into the machine and that's going to be scrolling on the screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was kind of an impression that it gave me. I kind of mentioned earlier that this movie was, part game show, but also part like a, real life video game. And that's the kind of what I got from that title sequence.
Yeah. It gave us a lot of information. And in a way, it's kind of nice that we could be immediately plopped into this alternate reality courtesy of reading a few moments of text. Normally, I don't like them that much, but a really quick way to jump us into our alternate future.
Oh, 100%. So we get to meet our protagonist, Ben Richard, played by the ever wonderful Arnold Schwarzenegger. What did you guys think of this whole helicopter sequence?
I thought it was pretty well done. I mean, just throwing us right in there.
Yeah. Okay. Sir?
I thought it was all right. You have a couple of different camera angles, and so it felt very in studio shot-wise.
First thing I thought was, how the fuck do you overtake a helicopter from the pilot without crashing the fucking helicopter? They fought in that helicopter like they were in a gym or something. It looked like they just had a lot of room to be throwing all these punches around. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was okay, I guess.
My biggest issue, though, with this scene was Arnold's acting. Screw you! I will not fire on helpless. He just the guy who told him that he would see him in hell acted better in that scene, I thought, than Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there now because, again, this is not to spoil anything, listeners, this is probably not the only Arnold Schwarzenegger movie we're going to get. But I'm just going to throw this out there. Not a very good actor, you know.
But we don't go to see him act, I guess. We go to see the one-liners and to see him kill people.
Yeah, and the fun that we have with his movies, right? So at some point when you're watching an Arnold movie, you just have to accept that he's not the greatest of actors. You know, let it go and let's move on and try to enjoy the ride.
Are you telling me he wasn't Oscar worthy for Conan the Barbarian? He was robbed.
And so we find out that the government wants Ben Richards to fire on a bunch of innocent people, but he won't do it. So he gets attacked in the helicopter by his own men, gets knocked out, and we wake up 18 months later in prison.
What do you think of this prison, the settings?
Well, as soon as we get to the prison and they're putting the dead body into the wheelbarrow, right after it says that it's the Wilshire detention zone 18 months later, we get the body put into the wheelbarrow, and then on the screen it says María Conchita Alonso. Wait, what? Oh, it's credits. Boy, that really threw me for a loop.
You are 100% correct, Professor. We are still in the opening credits, and we've already learned the state of the world and why Ben Richards has gone to prison. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Can I just say one thing about that wheelbarrow that scene? Did it not feel like Bring Out Your Dead from Monty Python?
No.
I just felt like Bring Out Your Dead and load them all in the little cart to take away.
I got to be honest with both of you guys. I don't even remember the fucking wheelbarrow scene.
I also remember the guy, the bald
which movie?
Guy.
Running Man.
You don't remember the guy being loaded into the wheelbarrow?
Yeah.
It's in the very beginning when they open on it's when they open on the prison, right?
Yeah.
It's just going on in the foreground.
And they say some line about, well, this guy's had it, or we got another one down, or something.
Yeah. Because this is the point where, we kind of learn where they're at, and they have these devices around their necks. The prisoners have the
kill collars,
and they have the zones, right? And they have a red light and a green light and
red light,
green light. And so the prisoners decide that they want to escape.
Weiss, he spies the code to deactivate the kill zone.
Right. And
for the kill collars.
Right. And so they need a distraction. So Richards and Laughlin,
they start duking it up.
And one of your classic movie tropes where the two guys get into a fight for a distraction. I found this scene kind of comical because the prisoners, they get the upper hand, and Weiss makes it to the terminal, and he's typing in the correct code, but it keeps saying
denied.
Originally, they made it sound like it was because he was indoors. I always took it, after the first time I saw this movie, that the guy that is outside where he has a computer thing is just constantly denying it. He's resetting it up every time.
Oh, so it's like he's unlocking it and he's locking it. He's unlocking it, he's locking it.
That's what I think it is.
Okay. So then I'll forgive that.
We see a couple of so-brief flashes of green, and then it goes denied. And it's not until that the guy on the other side is shot and killed that they are able to successfully deactivate it.
Right. What did you guys think of Chico running through the minefield? Did you guys think he was going to make it?
Oh, no. You knew that this was only reason to have Chico in there was to show what happens when the kill collars explode.
What'd you guys think of the head bursting?
It looked good.
It was a pretty good. It looked very practical. Yeah. So they managed to get the
collars off, and they escape the prison.
And they go their separate ways. But first don't they go to the Resistance? This is where we meet Mick and Stevie. Mm-hmm. They are in the Resistance, and Mick is played by Mick Fleetwood, and Stevie is played by Dweezil Zappa, Frank Zappa's son.
Now, I thought it was interesting, this Mick character, in that he talks about, you're one of those cops who, locked up all my friends and burned my music. So from what I've been kind of reading, a lot of people have suggested he was playing himself in the movie. He was playing that he was a musical artist. And you notice his sidekick was Stevie, as in Stevie Nicks.
Yeah. Well, I think Mick Fleetwood asked whoever, probably Starsky, can we name Stevie after Stevie Nicks?
Mm-hmm.
So, little tidbits here and there. So they go to the Resistance and they tell Arnold, this is how we're fighting. Why don't you join us, whatever? And Arnold's like, no, this is your war. I don't fucking want to deal with it. I'm leaving. Right?
They get their collars off and they go their separate ways.
And then Richard goes to his brother's apartment and and this is where he meets
Amber Mendez.
Well, the funniest thing is, first of all, he goes to his brother's apartment, and she's been there for a month, but the code is still the same on the door. And did you see what the code was on the door?
222.
No, it was 223344.
Right in the line.
I thought it was 445566.
Maybe it was something like that.
It was something stupid.
Yeah, it was the middle three digits.
Yeah, 445566.
Two times each. So yeah.
Right at this same time, we also get our first introduction of Killian. We get the limousine pulling up, and he greets the masses outside the building.
The big thing was, I think, the janitor who accidentally puts the mop, and he trips over it, then says, if that whole asshole's still mopping the floors, you will be later. That's how we get our first introduction of who Killian is.
An egotistical asshole. And then after we meet Amber, finds out that his brother doesn't live there and hasn't lived there for the last month.
He's been sent to re-education camp.
And I got to know, and not that I'm complaining, but do you think that women work out in lingerie?
I sure hope so.
Well, I tell you, there is a lot of sexual exploitation throughout in this movie.
Wasn't that what the 80s kind of was all about?
Yeah, I mean...
We had, all those workout tapes and...
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, 80s was definitely the decade of, sexual exploitation. But I was just curious because I kind of chuckled to myself. She was doing her workouts and she was just in lingerie.
I don't know why. She's there in the lingerie, and I'm more focused on Jesse the Body Ventura leading that workout as Captain Freedom.
That says so much about you, John, that I don't even know if we have the time to dig into that. So Arnold emerges from the shower, clean and fresh, and he...
clean shaven.
He asks Amber, what's going on? This is my brother's house. What are you doing here? And she's like, screw you. He ties her up to the workbench. What'd you guys think of this whole bit with Amber and Ben?
He ruined her floor.
Why?
When he lifted her up the...
oh, I know. Yeah.
The workout
he
thing.
Lifted it right out of the fucking floor.
Yeah, what do you say? He said something like, I'll ask nicely or something.
Nicely. Oh, that's right.
And then we're back to Killian, and Killian happens to spot Richards on a tape, and he's looking for some fresh talent for the show.
Yeah, and that's going to set up our plot line of getting Ben Richards as the running man.
I did like how the lady is going through the list of possible contestants, and she brings up, there was those 3 guys who made the suicide pact. Did they follow through? No. Then they're not reliable.
Yeah, he didn't want to use them because they weren't reliable.
And I love when they're going through the pictures. One of them was like baby face something or other, and it was just an actual baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to put him on the show.
Yeah. And then we also, in this bit, get to meet Killian's bodyguard, which is named Sven.
Sven, yeah.
Sven. And he was just recently in another movie that we just reviewed.
Well, he's been in a lot of Arnold movies.
Right, but we just reviewed a movie that he was in. That's my point. That's what I was getting at.
Would you mean Mallrats?
He was LaFleur's in Mallrats.
Oh.
Yeah. But I think he might be in every Arnold movie.
Did you kind of feel like he needed the hat from Mallrats for this?
I kind of did. When I was watching it, I'm like, oh, he needs his hat.
That could have been his thing. Like
for the rest of the movies.
Yeah, every movie he's in from, all time he should have had that hat.
Yeah.
And so we have Schwarzenegger prettying himself up, and he's got a plan that he's going to go to Hawaii. And so Amber, is going to help him get to Hawaii. And so off to the airport they go.
Richard takes Mendez hostage to flee to Hawaii, but is arrested at the airport when Mendez alerts security. Richards meets Damon Killian, the charismatic but ruthless host of The Running Man. Killian coerces Richards to participate in the show in exchange for Weiss and Laughlin's freedom. Meanwhile, Amber sees a new report that Richards killed people at the airport, which she knows to be untrue. However, as the game begins, Killian sends all three men into the game show arena, an abandoned part of Los Angeles. They are attacked by Professor Sub-Zero, but Richards garrots him with a piece of razor wire fencing, making it the first time a stalker has died on the show. So as you were mentioning, Professor Richards and Amber, they go to the airport, and you get a lot of little quips that Arnold busts out here as well. And this was kind of the part where I thought, he's kind of charming in this little bit.
I'm going to throw up all over you.
Fine. It's not my shirt.
No. Fine, they won't show on this shirt.
What's the fucking difference?
I like the line that he delivers just before they get up to the counter. He has his hand on her shoulder, then he moves it up to her neck, and he says, "Remember, I can break your neck like a chicken."
He also says, I think when the guy's scanning her badge or his badge and then looking through her purse, women can't live with them, can't live with them.
Yeah. He's definitely putting on a show, right? But here's my thing. Is it weird that every time he's with Amber or the way he grabs her around the neck, I don't know, that just seems weird to me.
I don't know if I even, I know later on they kind of start hooking up or whatever, but did you buy them as a couple at all?
No, and that's kind of where I was going with this. I like Arnold Schwarzenegger as an action star. I like him as our hero. I even like him when he's the villain. What I do not like him as a romantic lead. Yeah.
The only exception I will say is I thought he did well in True Lies.
Yeah, it's debatable.
So Amber causes a fuss, and then Richards gets apprehended. And the next thing you know, he is meeting Killian.
Well, here's my first thought before he meets Killian. He got knocked out in the helicopter because, he almost fell out of the helicopter.
Did he?
he easily gets taken at the airport, yet all these stalkers can't take him. Why don't they just shoot him with a net gun? That seems to be his, vulnerable spot there.
That's his kryptonite?
Yeah, I don't know. He just seems to be easily captured and all this stuff. Yet in zone, he kicks ass.
Yeah, well, if he gets captured too early, bud, we don't have a movie. Come on, you know that.
I just thought at the airport he'd put up a little more of a fight.
I thought at the airport when they get discovered and he's running away, I'm thinking, where the fuck does he go? And then I don't know what it is or what it was, but when I was watching it last night, when he's running down the tarmac, didn't it remind you of Commando?
Kind of.
It reminded me of Commando a little bit. And then Arnold doesn't make a good running face. I mean, he looked like he was trying to take a shit. And so the truck comes up from behind him, shoots him with the net gun, and he's captured, and he lands up with having a meeting with Killian. And, Killian, being a diabolical fucker, says, look, if you don't want to do the Running Man, that's fine. You don't have to. You'll go to jail, whatever. However, someone is going to do the Running Man, and if you don't do it, Laughlin and Weiss are going to do it. And so, for not wanting to get into their resistance and not wanting to be part of their gang, he says, all right, fuck, I'll do it. If that means that they don't have to do it, I'll do it. So that kind of shows you what kind of character that Richards is.
You knew right away Killian was going to screw him.
Oh, absolutely. There's never any doubt in my mind that when this sort of deal happens, there's always going to be a double cross, right?
What did you think of the network-appointed agent?
He was slimy and a network agent.
I love how he signs his name on the document. Victim, use my back.
Yeah. And
bang, right into the pen.
That's probably not the first time Arnold's done that.
And I love the look that Sven gives. Sven doesn't even try to help the agent. He just gives a look like, oh, crap.
Sven throughout this whole fucking thing doesn't give a fuck.
No.
And that's what I kind of dig about him. But yeah, they get Arnold ready. They put him into this little pod. And then right before he leaves, he finds out that Killian fucked him and his buddies are waiting to go down into the arena with him. And then this is where we get, Arnold's famous line, his line that I think he uses in almost every movie he's in, the I'll be back line. But I think this is the best comeback to this line.
It's the only time I can remember someone having a comeback to his line.
I think you're right with that, but it's fucking brilliant. Arnold says, Killian, I'll be back. And Killian just brilliantly says, only in reruns, and sends him on his way. So, as far as bad guys go, I think Killian, he's okay. I mean, I don't hate him.
I would almost say that Killian is one of the best bad guys with his own set of one-liners. You don't see too many villains with just classic, rememberable one-liners like this.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we'll have to see what other kind of villains we get into.
During this time, we also get to meet the Running Man audiences. We see two types of society. We have the audience. We have the people in studios where they're having a big old party, and then we see the masses outside in the dark and in the cold, and we get to see this very, very sparse. There's nobody in the middle. There's either the haves or the have-nots. Right. And as this story unfolds, it, I think, paints a good example of a dystopian future where you definitely have either you are suffering or you are living very high on the hog.
What'd you think of the choreography in this movie?
You mean
with the dancers?
It looked like 80s choreography.
Do you know who choreographed it?
Paula Abdul.
Yeah, that's why it looked very 80s, I think, because she did a lot of choreography
I just
in the
fucking
80s.
Guessed on that.
And she actually used her Laker girlfriends.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it looks very polished.
I'd also like to point out that during this time, we are having our characters, with this betting that is happening, it is important that we also understand the disparity that these people are gambling on people's lives and how worked up they are in watching this show. I thought it was really interesting how Paul Michael Glaser was able to capture the intensity in these crowds of people. And I thought he did a pretty darn good job of the cadence of selling it as feeling like a game show. It really felt like a game show to me a lot of the ways through the movie whenever it was showing crowds.
They also captured the fact of Mrs. Miller, who was the old lady who he mentioned that was like his number one fan. She was actually modeled off of a character who used to go to the Merv Griffin show and would appear on, or would be in the audience of every single one of his shows as his number one fan. So they even brought that element into this movie.
Sure. So the game starts and Ben gets shot through this tunnel, which was pretty cool, and it flies down and it takes you to the arena, and there are 4 quadrants that you have to survive, and if you survive, you get your government pardon. And so now the game has started. I only have one question about this whole tunnel scene. What the fuck were the mirrors for?
I don't know. It always threw me every time, you have the mirror, you see him coming and then boom, he shoots right by the mirror. That was odd.
Was it just for the camera shot?
Potentially, I guess.
But I don't know. That fucking mirror seemed out of place.
I'd be curious to see how they filmed that whole tube scene.
Yeah.
I was wondering when their face looks like it's being pushed back, if that was makeup or if they put them in like a gyroscope or something to get
I think it had to have been makeup.
Makeup, yeah.
And then everything behind them was on a rear projection, it looked like. So who knows? So they get launched out into the first quadrant. And in the meantime, while they get started to run, the audience gets to pick the stalkers. And is it Mrs. Miller who picks the first one?
No, it was some other woman that picks it.
Right. And so they have...
because he's a big cuddly teddy bear or something like that.
That's right. And people kept telling she starts off by saying, my husband wants me to pick this. My kids want me to pick this guy. So who is there? There is Sub-Zero.
Dynamo.
Buzzsaw. Fireball.
Captain Freedom,
and
who's
Captain
in retirement.
Freedom, right? So we have 5 stalkers altogether.
That sounds right.
Okay.
Although they showed a whole locker room full of guys, but I think those were the main ones.
So Sub-Zero gets picked, and he goes down to the...
Now that's Professor Sub-Zero.
Oh, I'm sorry. Professor Sub-Zero gets picked, and he is in the arena now. So this is the first fight scene we get to have with the stalkers versus the running guys. What do you think of this whole bit?
I thought it was okay. It was an okay way to start. I wasn't captivated by it.
I found it, again, kind of like, I thought it was a good death scene for the stalker. But other than that, I didn't think there was that much tension in the scene.
No, and I gotta be honest, a lot of these fights with the stalkers are kind of underwhelming. You know what I mean? They had this great idea, this dystopian future, this really cool game show.
I thought Buzzsaw's fight was a little bit better. I thought of all the fights, I thought his was the best one.
Well, we haven't got there yet.
Yeah.
But this one I felt was kind of cheesy. It was kind of corny, like when he's skating with Weiss on his hockey stick, and then he shoots him into the fucking goal. What? Really? That net should have had
Spikes.
Exactly, spikes or something that come out, and that's how because they're trying to kill him, right? And then the way Richards dispatches him, he takes the barbed wire, and that's kind of cool. The setup was clunky, and it just they were flapping around on the ice, and it just wasn't a very compelling action piece to me. So I'm gonna have to hold that against it.
So maybe it would have been better on roller skates?
Or not on roller skates or ice skates or any type of skates. How about that?
Well, the actor who played Sub-Zero, one of the reasons why they called him Professor Sub-Zero is because he used to be a wrestler called the Professor. And I think it would have been better to do a scene where basically maybe like a wrestling scene or something else. Don't put him on this big guy on ice skates, with such like you said, a very clumsy scene.
But it had an okay one-liner after he was dead.
He's a pain in the neck.
He was a real pain in the neck.
I think we might have gotten one-liner overkill here because Arnold starts it with, this is Sub-Zero, now Plane Zero.
I liked that one.
And so this is the first time that a stalker has been killed, and everybody's in fucking shock. The studio audience is silent. Killian doesn't know what to fucking think. And I do like the shot of Yaphet and Arnold walking down the hallway and then giving each other five. Like, it's like, yeah, motherfucker.
I kept thinking, when they talked about there had been 3 winners previously, how do they determine a winner? Do they just have to get through the zone and past the stalker? Or didn't they have to kill the stalker? So maybe you just have to get through the zone and you're clear.
Well, considering that no one ever won.
But they must have shown, mapped it so that it looked like these people won.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's like a finish line. I think it was probably a race, right? Because if this is the first stalker to die, or you're pointing out a major plot hole. Who knows?
Oh, there is another major plot hole, and I'll point that out later.
I'm sure there's more than one.
Also, during this time, we have Amber snooping around, and she opens up the drawer. It was almost comical how, the files were stored. It might as well have said, incriminating bad footage.
Yeah. The Bakersfield Massacre, unedited.
Yeah. Raw footage or something like that.
One Bakersfield, edited for TV. Totally. Mendez finds the original unedited footage of the Bakersfield Massacre. However, she is caught and sent into the game zone. Joined by Mendez, Richards, Weiss, and Laughlin search for the uplink. Killian deploys 2 stalkers, Buzzsaw and Dynamo, to kill the 4 runners. Weiss and Laughlin find the uplink station, and Mendez memorizes the access code. Buzzsaw mortally wounds Laughlin, but Richards bisects Buzzsaw with his own chainsaw. Dynamo electrocutes Weiss, but is incapacitated by Richards, who spares the stalker. Laughlin tells Richards that the Resistance have a hidden base in the arena before dying from his wounds. Off the air, Killian offers Richards a position as a stalker, which the enraged Richards refuses. Hunted by Fireball, a stalker wielding a flamethrower, Mendez finds the corpse of the show's alleged past winners, revealing that the show's premise of a pardon are all false. Richards rescues Mendez and kills Fireball by sabotaging his gas tank and setting him alight with a road flare. Immediately afterward, the pair stumble into Mick's command center. So with Sub-Zero dead, they have to get some more stalkers out there, and so they send 2. They send Dynamo and Buzzsaw. What did you guys think of these 2 clowns?
Again, it went right back to this video game type feel, especially with Dynamo, the big electric guy. I guess in real life, he had started out as an opera singer who became an actor, and I don't know what other roles he's done, but that was really him singing in the movie.
I like Buzzsaw. I thought that he was probably what Running Man was supposed to look like.
Yeah.
That type of a nemesis.
Yeah. And a lot of them had gimmicks, and I get that. But Dynamo was just covered in light brights.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like he was covered in light brights.
And what was that little car?
And his little carmobile looked like it was fucking made from a Tonka truck.
I love that
Playmobil or something.
His shine, his light bright mohawk stuck out the top of the car.
Oh my! Well, his whole head stuck out of the fucking car, which I have a problem with.
His neck should have snapped like a chicken.
Like a fucking chicken. So yeah, they have to go after the runners, and in the meantime, Amber gets caught looking at the footage.
She's snooping where she shouldn't be snooping,
and she gets sent into the area. And she finds Richards and the other two.
She caught up with him pretty darn fast.
Pretty fucking fast. I'm not going to say there was a lot of convenient things in this film, but there were a lot of convenient fucking things in this film.
Well, she took a shortcut.
Was that what it was? Mm-hmm. Okay. So they join forces.
First, they have to find that uplink code thing.
We have Weiss and Amber split off. And then we have Laughlin and Richards split off.
Right. And so Buzzsaw goes after Richards and Laughlin, and Dynamo goes after Mendez and Weiss. So Weiss and Mendez, they have to go look for the uplink code, right? So they could...
they're following all this, I guess the satellite dishes are all pointing towards the center of the zone.
Right. Laughlin figures out that the signal's not going out, it's going in, and so this is where they need to hijack the uplink.
This, I think, is pretty much my biggest gripe with this movie, the biggest plot hole in the movie. Because Weiss says, he figures out, so this is where it's been. Nobody ever comes in this area. Yet Mick's hideout is in one of those zones. You think they all would have been in that area and seen all that stuff, the same stuff that Weiss saw, that they would have found that stuff if their hideout is in the zone.
I know. Again, I'm not going to say this movie's convenient when it needs to be convenient.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. So while Weiss and Mendez are trying to get the code, we cut back to Laughlin and Arnold and Buzzsaw. And so we know that now we're going to kind of get a good fight here. What did you guys think of this fight?
For me, this was the best fight of the movie, I believe, in that, first of all, we have the whole motorcycle scene where he's coming at him at the motorcycle. He seemed more... I don't want to say scary, but more intense than any of the other ones. Because, yeah, he's got the chainsaw and the motorcycle, and he does some damage.
I also thought that the motorcycle was appropriate for the terrain that they were battling in. That motorcycle is pretty versatile to go someplace a lot faster than somebody running.
This is where Laughlin gets wounded. He does it by pushing Richards out of the way, which another classic trope. Sacrificing yourself for the hero. And then Arnold just kind of dispatches him. He gets pulled around like Indiana Jones, and then he manages to get, what's his name, off the bike.
Buzzsaw.
And then they have the test of strength.
The saw is a part of me, and it's going to be a part of you.
Yeah, and then more one-liners.
You keep it.
That's all right. Keep it.
And he bone tomahawks him, and
Did you like the voice going up as he's getting
the high
cut?
operatic yell?
I thought about that when I was watching it.
It was comical.
Oh, yeah, it was comical.
I'm just thinking everybody watching him on the tapes in the studio.
Yeah,
on the TVs.
And so now another stalker down, but a stalker is also stalking Mendez and Weiss. So Weiss cracks the code, but just as he's cracking the code, and after he tells Amber to memorize the numbers, because you have to have a backup, Dynamo comes in with his light brights, and he shocks Weiss, who dies, I guess. Didn't Amber get shocked too? Did she not absorb the brunt of it?
Yeah. So she was hit by some after she fled, but not a direct shot. And then Richard shows up
But Dynamo wants to take Amber outside and have his way with her.
Yeah, you already get a creepy vibe from this guy.
Oh, 100%. And then Richard shows up, calls him Lightbulb. More fucking one-liners from Arnold.
Christmas tree.
Yeah. And so Arnold starts running because he's a running man. And Dynamo chases him in his Dynamo mobile. And like we were saying earlier, his head keeps popping out of the fucking roof. And then Richards runs up a hill. What makes Dynamo think that he can drive his mobile up the fucking hill?
I don't know, but for me, this is something I've always wanted to see in horror movies and other action movies. When anybody's on foot being chased by a vehicle, they always keep running along the road. They never decide to run into behind a tree or run up a hill. At least they finally do it in this movie.
Yeah, I suppose. So Arnold runs up a hill. Dynamo follows him in his car, and it rolls over. And this is the chance where Arnold could kill him and be done with him, but he doesn't.
More great Schwarzenegger acting hit this part. I will not kill a helpless human being.
Yeah. And I like that the fact that Dynamo knows he's fucking beat, and so he keeps continually yelling out, cut the cameras, cut the cameras.
Go to commercial.
Have you noticed that this show, if you're watching it at home, the editing is fucking brilliant, right? I mean, they get some shots that you have to ask yourself, how the fuck did they get those shots? The footage in the chopper.
Oh, it's like that all the way through the movie. It is like that all the way through the movie. We get to see this like this on the screen. There's got to be a camera right there, right? That happens all the time in the movie.
Oh, I know.
Well,
I know. And normally it doesn't bother me, but it drove me nuts with the fucking helicopter footage.
Well, talking about footage for a sec, did you catch in the very beginning of the movie when they were going over some stuff and they showed a commercial for the Running Man on a screen that they were actually showing scenes from the actual movie?
Yeah, they were doing the promo for the Running Man.
Yeah.
Buzzsaw's scene is the same, and I think all of them,
Yeah.
all the stalkers we know.
They just took scenes from what was going to happen and put them into that commercial. Another thing that I read is in one of the scenes where I don't know if it was the edited version or the unedited version. I think it was the edited version where they show the helicopters flying in and shooting. That was from a 1976 King Kong movie.
The 1976 King Kong movie?
Yeah.
Jeff Bridges, Jessica Lange, Charles Grodin? Anybody?
Apparently.
So after Dynamo is spared, we have Amber as she's walking away. What happened to Buzzsaw? And what does Richard say?
He has to split.
He had to split.
So after the death of Buzzsaw and the incapacitation of Dynamo, Killian decides, if you can't beat him, join him.
And Laughlin dies too.
Oh,
Yeah. I did like Laughlin's line of, he's got to, you got to do this, because I don't want to be the only asshole in heaven.
Yeah, that was good. So we knew that Laughlin and Weiss weren't going to make it out of this, and they didn't. And so now the mission and the fate of the world is up to Richards and Amber, who knows this code.
Regarding the code that Weiss gives Amber, would you have been able to memorize that code?
Oh, fuck, I don't know. I know it ends in 17-17-4.
I think after like the third number, I'd been like, oh, we're screwed.
That doesn't surprise me. So now, after Laughlin and Weiss's death, Mendez and Richard start to move on. And then Killian decides, if you can't beat him, join him. And so he gets a hold of Richards and offers him a deal. Just like, the bad guy's offering a good guy the deal because they know they're unstoppable. They know they're in trouble. It happens all the fucking time. And I think this is probably Arnold's greatest line ever. No, I don't know if it's ever, but this is where he's telling him,
is it the greatest line or the greatest delivery of a line?
Oh, fuck, I don't know. But when he pulls down that camera and he tells Killian, I hope to live to see you sign that contract or something like that. And he goes, but I hope you left room in your stomach because I put my arm through it and I rip out your spine. And it's at that moment that Killian knows, oh, I'm fucked.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The show is not going the way it's supposed to at all. Then Fireball is sent in.
I think that's Jim Brown, right?
Yeah.
Cleveland Brown, Jim Brown.
Yeah.
Fucking brilliant.
NFL fame.
Yeah. And Killian even comments during the pursuit that he's our number one rusher, which is he was a running back. So there you go. But I like the bit where he's sitting in the dressing room and the the intercom comes on, fireball to wardrobe, fired. And the look he gives is like, yeah, motherfucker, it's my turn. And so he gets suited up. And first of all, it looks like he's wearing one of those metal mesh diving suits that divers wear when they go swimming with sharks. And then he's got a jetpack and, he's the fucking fire starter. What'd you guys think of Fireball?
I liked his intro. I liked him going up on the stage and spraying the flame across the audience like that. That would be exciting if you're in the audience.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Probably pretty fucking hot too.
Yeah. If I had to rate my stalkers, I think I might put him as number 2.
And again, we get another mediocre chase, but we get some more backstory. This is where we find out that there are no winners to the Running Man, and that the 3 winners from last season are actually decomposing in what looks to be a locker room of some sort.
Mm-hmm. But we've jumped over something that significant that happens in this story arc. What happens is we have Killian asking one of his guests, who do you think is going to get the next kill?
It's the old lady that he's asking.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right.
And she says, Ben Richards. And then, no, not him. No.
You have to say a stalker.
Ben Richards. And then what does she say right after that? That boy is one mean motherfucker.
Yeah, that's what I was waiting for. Such a great moment. And you're right. The crowd is starting to turn, right?
And then right after that, then it's out to the outside betting, and Richards is put up on the board.
100-1.
He's 100-1, and that one guy wants $200. So since Richards does get the next kill, that guy should get 20 grand. Technically,
if he chooses to cash in at that time, right? He probably turns it around and puts it right back into the game.
Oh, maybe because, Richard just took out Fireball. What did you guys think of the confrontation between Fireball and our heroes?
It was okay. I did like the scene where, Ben Richards basically knocks down the gasoline or whatever it is, the liquid, the flammable stuff, and Fireball walks through it. I thought that, it looked a little hokey kind of the way it was digitally done. It kind of made for the scene for the character walking through the fire.
How come his hair doesn't go up in flames?
That's what I was thinking.
I thought about that too, but I'm guessing he must put something in his hair.
Flame retardant gel. Probably puts it on his eyebrows too.
Yeah. Well, he's got to, because he walked through that motherfucking fire like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So they get split up, and Fireball is now stalking Mendez and has her cornered. And then out of nowhere, Richard comes up and undoes a tube on the back of his tank. And this is the bit where we get Fireball in the corner, and he's covered in gas, and Richards has a flare. Yep. And what does he say?
How about a light?
And poof, he blows up, and that's the end of Fireball.
And then what does he say afterwards? What a hothead.
So it's nonstop one-liners with Schwarzenegger in this one.
80s action movie.
So after all of this...
What did you think of the lingering shot of the burning corpse they just kept the audience to stare at?
Oh my God. I want to know where all these fucking cameras are. But yeah, they just hold on that and they watch him burn.
One of the things I kept thinking during that scene, and of course, they must be doing some creative editing, the shot of him about to burn up Amber, he just admits, the 3 guys died. They obviously couldn't show that to the audience outside. So what are they showing and what are they cutting to?
I guess they didn't have a commercial ready to go.
I guess not. Or they have an on-site editor who runs around behind the contestants and says, no, let's get this. No, let's get that.
One thing I was thinking about during this whole Fireball scene and them running through whatever that factory or what locker room area, whatever it was how Amber was constantly talking, nonstop of, I don't want to go that way. I don't want to go that way. I want to go this way. Just constantly. Imagine if you'd taken her character and put her for Brigitte Nelson in Cobra. How different that movie would have been.
Yeah, and I was going to get to that later on, because out of the 2 female leads that we've seen so far, María Conchita Alonso is miles above
head and shoulders.
Yeah, and so you put her in the Cobra, and it very well could be a different movie for sure.
Yeah, she was good in this movie.
Yeah, I thought everybody did a good job with what they were given. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And for what it was, it's fine. It's fine. And in the meantime, Mendez and Richards stumble into Mick's command center, which was in one of the areas of the show.
Just one of those 4 zones.
And which was so close to the fucking uplink code that, I mean, they could have reached out and touched it.
Yeah, if Richards and Mendez could run to where Mick was, Mick could have found the uplink code area.
And so here is where Richards decides to get involved, and he's going to help with the resistance. And
I like the line that basically says, "I thought you were looking for the exit door. I told him I'd be back."
yeah, right. And because he's complaining, right? Mick's telling him the plan. They're going to go in with the guns, and they're going to try and take over the uplink so they can tell the world the truth. And, Arnold's like, these guys can't go. They're not leaders, blah, blah, blah. And Mick's like, well, then fucking you lead them. And Arnold gets this big old smile on his face. With the viewership now cheering for Richards, Killian asks former stalker Captain Freedom to fight. When Freedom refuses, the network stages a battle of digitized stand-ins depicting Richards and Mendez being executed by Captain Freedom. Mendez and Richards see this on air. Using the access codes, the Resistance storms the ICS control room and broadcasts the original footage of the Bakersfield massacre and the deceased runners to expose Killian and the government's lies. As the Resistance fighters battle ICS security forces, Dynamo tries to rape Amber. However, a gun battle triggers the building's sprinklers, which electrocutes Dynamo. Richards confronts Killian, who claims that the show appeases to the populace love of televised violence. Killian begs him to reconsider, and Richard forces Killian into a rocket-powered sled, sending him flying into the game zone and fatally crashing through a billboard. As the audience celebrates, Richards reunites with Mendez, departing the studio as the broadcasting network goes down. Roll credits. So now we're in Mick's command center, and he's trying to get Arnold to, help him out with their fight. He does eventually. And in the meantime, you got Captain
Freedom
getting all kinds of pissed off. He doesn't want to do this. And you could tell he doesn't want to do it.
I love when he comes out in that metal laser thingy that they had put him in. It looked so hokey.
Yeah. And what does he say there, Professor?
He says, "Forget it. I won't do it."
Yeah, he's done, And I love that this is another Sven moment.
Yeah, when Killian tells him to get him out of here, and then what does Sven do? He just doesn't move at all. But finally, when they make eye contact with each other, Sven just kind of sort of gives a raise of the eyebrow and a tilt of the head. Well,
before that, Killian says to him, "What, did steroids make you deaf?"
So Captain Freedom is out, and so they got to figure out how to end this thing because they know that Richards, he's fucking gone, or they just kind of gave up on him. Well, probably because they didn't have any more stalkers, but with all this camera footage and everything in the quadrants, how did they just, disappear?
Well, what Richards kind of says, which is what would have happened, is they were going to basically do this digitized fight and kill off Richards and kill off Mendez, and then send in their troops to find them and just execute them.
Oh, I see. What I want to know is when they digitized Mendez, at what point does she fall down? Because, Captain Freedom just kind of throws her around like a rag doll. And, they have to have the footage from somewhere.
Well, the impression...
Or is it that they use footage of other contestants in other shows and just puts their face on it? And if that's the case, if I'm the audience, I'd fucking call bullshit on that.
Yeah, that's basically what they did. Is they mapped the people's faces, and they took it from, I guess, another Captain Freedom killed another woman, and they just put Mendez's face over that woman. In fact, I thought maybe they just they used someone who looked just like her,
and then he snapped her neck like a chicken,
like a fucking chicken.
What'd you think of the Captain Freedom fight?
I thought it was underwhelming. I thought you had these two big powerhouses, but I also knew that we were running out of time, if that makes sense. The movie was going pretty well, and after all those battles with all those stalkers, you kind of get battle fatigue a little bit. So this one, like the other ones, was just kind of underwhelming.
I had read that this was a really hard scene from the film, and this is why it might be so underwhelming, is that I guess Arnold is a lot shorter than Jesse the Body Ventura. And so they were trying this whole scene to make them seem like they were even playing that they're almost the same size. So that's why you get all these weird angles and weird shots, because they can't really show them together very well.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
And then we have Amanda. She watches this. Oh my gosh, right? And I think this is what solidifies her and Richard's determination that they want to join the resistance, based on they have been killed, and as Richard says, they're not going to make it out alive.
Right. I liked, I forget who they're running for. Oh, I like when they're running from Fireball, not to take us back too far, but Amber says, we should have gone to Hawaii. And Arnold says, well, I had the shirt for it, but you fucked it up. I thought that was funny. And so, yeah, they get to watch themselves die on TV. And, Amber's like, we're fucking free. We can go wherever we want. And, Richards explains, no, we're not.
And then she comes up with the original footage of the Bakersfield massacre.
I think I was like 15 or 16 at the time when I originally saw this movie. And when he asked, where did you hide that? I don't think I had a clue. I was like, where did she hide that?
You're such a fucking liar. You knew exactly where she hid it.
In her hoo-ha.
How, when she got caught so quick, was she able to hide that?
That's what you're trying to figure out with this fucking movie?
Maybe
with everything that's going on, that's what you're trying to figure out?
Maybe it was her prison purse.
So yeah, Amber miraculously comes up with the unedited version of the Bakersfield massacre, and they start making this tape. And
the secret uplink works.
Yeah, after the secret uplink works, we cut back to the show. They're winding down. Richard Dawson's trying to say goodnight, whatever it is, and then they start the video to announce that the new resistance is here.
And they air all their little dirty laundry that they have.
Yeah, all for everybody to see, which, is another trope of action movies and kind of just movies in general. You have this force that's oppressing you, and you have the resistance, and the resistance wants to get the message out there. I mean, 4 just pop into my head right off the bat. So anyways, we have this gun battle in the studio.
Mayhem ensues.
And then while this is going on, we have another team taking over the executive offices, which is led by Amber. The studios is led by Richards. And we get to the bit where Dynamo's not dead, and he's going to finish what he started with Mendez.
Right.
But here's my question, okay? He knocks her down, and they try to scramble for the gun. And then from the time he knocks her down, from the time they are scrambling for the gun, which is maybe 1, 2, 3 seconds tops, he already has his pants down.
Yeah, what's up with that?
He showed up with just his tidy whities. If you watch, and that's what's going to be my comment about it, is somewhere between being in the zone and being in the scene, he lost his pants.
Because he has his pants when we first cut to him on the hallway.
No, I think when you get in the hallway, because one of the things I noticed last night when I was rewatching it, you cut to the hallway scene, he's in his tidy whities.
Oh. It looked like he fucking...
No, I don't think he has pants in that scene, and that's what I thought was really, really odd about that scene.
And John's good for looking for stuff like that.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he's always right. So Dynamo tries to rape Amber again, and she gets the upper hand, and the sprinklers are set off, and so now he gets electrocuted. Okay, so if he didn't have his pants on coming in, whatever. But here's my other question. Doesn't she get electrocuted too?
I was thinking, wouldn't there be puddles of water on the floor?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I would think so.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. 80s action movies. What the fuck are you going to do? So, while this is going on, we're back into the studios, and they managed to dispatch of the bad guys. And now it's just Richards and Killian. And you got to know going into this that this isn't going to be much of a fight, right? I mean, you can't really have a real satisfying conclusion with your protagonist and antagonist if the scales are so lopsided.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have Sven show up, Did you expect Richards and Sven to fight, or did you expect him to give that line and
Oh,
walk away?
I fully expected him to give that line and walk away, for sure.
Yeah, I got to go score me some steroids. I appreciated that whole walk away sequence, in that it kind of worked for that, because you said earlier on the guy really didn't do much.
No, he didn't. He was just kind of the head of security that,
Just looked intimidating.
Yeah, he just looked intimidating. So
this scene with Killian, I thought, had some nice back and forth with Killian trying to explain this is the way it works, this is how it is, and then the whole thing with Richards throwing him into the jet ski or jet car or whatever thing it is. I love the line that they have where he says, "Drop dead."
You bastard, drop dead.
you first.
No.
I don't do requests.
Oh, fuck. Him and his fucking one-liners, I tell you. How did Richards know how to work the sled? And how did he know to bring down the cage that trapped Killian in it? Do you think there were some fucking executives in the control room or something that worked on the effects or do the practicals and said, you know what, that dude's a dick, let's help him out, and they lowered the cage for him?
The only thing I could think of, and I actually did think about that in one of my viewings, was that this is the most popular show on the network, meaning that Richards has seen it. Maybe there was an instructional video while he was locked up.
Now you're giving him too much credit.
So Killian, off he goes down through the tube, and he gets to the end of the tube, and he goes shooting right on through. There's no net to catch him, and he crashes into his own billboard, and we have that massive explosion. And what are you thinking right there?
A, how the fuck did it get in the air, because it comes off the ramp and skids on the fucking ground? And B, what fucking exploded? Was there a bomb on the fucking sled?
Only thing I could think of is the gas tank for the jet.
That big of an explosion?
It was a little odd. It was, a little over-exaggerated.
Like an over-the-top death in an 80s action movie?
Of our bad guy, yeah.
Yeah. What would you think, Professor?
Maybe it was just a little exaggerated. A lot. Of course, it was ridiculous how big the explosion was. And then after Killian is killed, what does Schwarzenegger say? Well, that hit the spot. Then we have that little romantic moment afterwards. Oh, here it comes. And yeah.
Okay, and let's talk about this romantic moment for a second. She gets kidnapped by this guy. She, gets saved by him, and they have little moments here and there. But after they kiss, which really made me think Arnold should not be a romantic lead, but he does the same thing with his hand. He grabs her by the neck and escorts her down the fucking hallway. Who does that? Didn't that look weird? I mean, it was like uncomfortable weird. If I'm María Conchita Alonso, I'm like, what the fuck did I just sign up for? So, yeah, that's that future. Yeah, so that was The Running Man.
One thing I thought I'd just throw out there, because, I like to make things depressing, is the actor that played Dynamo, Arlen Van Lith. Do you know that he died of a heart attack 2 months after making the movie and never made it to the screening?
Yeah, that's got to suck.
Yeah, he was only 34 years old. This was his last movie.
Yeah.
So did either of you guys have a favorite stalker? Or if you didn't have a favorite stalker, did you have a least favorite stalker?
For me, I would have to say Buzzsaw was my favorite stalker, only because, like I said, I thought their fight scene was kind of one of the best of the movie. Beyond that, maybe Fireball, but least favorite, I think, probably was Sub-Zero.
For me, I would go with Sub-Zero. He's my least favorite. I didn't necessarily have a favorite one, but the over the topness of Captain Freedom, I appreciated the energy that character has and his enthusiasm for what it is that he does. And so that cheesiness, I think I would probably pick him for my top one, but it's not a very big hill to climb.
I think that my least favorite was Dynamo. The light brights and his tidy whities kind of took me out of the whole thing. Oh, and his fucking cool car, right?
His total cool car.
And I think my favorite would be Fireball, because he can fucking fly, right? And he's got a lot of fire. It's not like fire in Mount Doom, but it's pretty fucking close.
Wait, did you say Mount Doom?
Really?
And now it's time for John's Precious Moment.
Now is the point in our podcast where I like to take whatever movie we're reviewing and compare it to Lord of the Rings. Because, well, every movie compares to Lord of the Rings. Ben Richards, our Frodo, lives in a world under the watchful eye of the tyrannical government. At first, he is content to go about his job until he's called upon to stand up for a higher value. This is what puts him on his journey and takes him to Mordor, otherwise known as the Zones, within the game, where he carries with him, unknowingly, a spark that will fire a revolution to take back their world from Sauron, who is in control, or in this case, the government, who uses the media, much like Sauron uses the ring, to keep control over the population. Because Killian works for the network, which works for the government, he represents Saruman the White. The Stalkers represent the Nazgul, aka Ringwraiths, aka the Black Riders, who go after our heroes. They are sent out to stop Frodo and his fellowship in order to protect the One Ring, which again is the network. One ring to rule them all. One popular game show to keep the masses docile and subjugated. The show is The Precious. Currently, the show is dormant, not gaining any ratings until Richard shows up and battles Richards for control, even trying to corrupt him at one point when Killian offers him a job as a stalker. But in the end, our Frodo is able to destroy the ring when he helps bring down the network, freeing the world from the media influence. Along the way, he has 3 members of his fellowship, with Laughlin and Wise as our Merry and Pippin, and Mendez as our Sam. All 3 help Frodo along on his journey, not only putting him on the right path, but making it possible for him to destroy the ring. It's Mendez who in the end supplies the final code and the unedited footage that allows the ring to be cast into Mount Doom, much like Sam helped Frodo. Lastly, I just want to throw this out there that this movie did contain a Gollum in the form of Captain Freedom. He lingers around the ring, which is basically the show, craving the power it once gave him, which in this case is popularity and fame. He desires the ring to favor him once again, but is constantly denied. In the end, he kills his own character when he won't be part of the show in the same fashion that Gollum kills himself when he goes over into the lava in Mount Doom. And that is my comparison of Running Man to Lord of the Rings. Bring on the grades.
For me, I think that it's not all that strong. I thought that you have a weak Sam in Amber Mendez. Amber, I felt like she didn't necessarily do anything to help Richards along on the journey. And the Saruman the White, I can see Killian being like that, but I just don't see too many other parallels. I am giving a grade of a weak C-, passing, but not by much.
Fucking hey, bud, you passed. Look at you. Look at you. I like the Saruman bit. I like the Nazgul bit. I think that, yeah, Merry and Pippin and Sam are a little bit of a stretch, but I mean, what else do you got? I mean, you went with what you had. I like the comparison to, I like the Gollum and Captain Freedom bit. I thought that was pretty good. I'm going to give you a C.
Well, thank you. I almost made Weiss, Laughlin, and Mendez all Sam because they're without all 3 of those characters, our Frodo wouldn't have accomplished his mission.
Yeah, I didn't ask. And that was John's precious moment. All right, so what do you guys think? You guys ready to rate this bitch?
We should rate this bitch.
Professor, how do we do our ratings?
We do our ratings on a scale of 1 to 5 fucks. 5 fucks is a movie that is cinematic gold. You are ready to watch this movie anytime. It is so good. You'll sit and watch it whenever somebody says, yeah, I want to watch that. You want to watch that with me? Yes, I do. A 1 fuck movie is a movie where you have seen it and you're never going to see it again. For whatever reason you chose to see it, it was something that you were curious to see, but it's something that you have no desire to see it again. There's nothing rewatchable to you.
And what's a 0?
A zero is a movie where you want to say, you owe me 2 hours of my life back to whoever it was that made you watch this, because that was a shitty movie.
And in other words, we just don't give a fuck. I can see by the way you're propped up. You want to go first, sir, guy?
I will be happy to go first because I figure everyone's not heard enough of me yet.
All right. I fucking love it. Let's hit it.
Running Man gave us a quick-paced glimpse into reality TV to come. It's basically a super saturated, cheesy one-liner movie that gives us everything that we love about a typical 80s action flick. It works. The movie is fun. It doesn't make you think too hard, and it just is what it is. It's a vehicle for Schwarzenegger with his one-lines and just his persona that he portrays in a lot of movies. Now, when it comes to our checklist of things that we look for in an 80s movie, strong hero with quotable lines. Yep. Crazy level supervillain that the hero can't beat. Well, wouldn't say that our supervillain is that level, but the stalkers sure come in kind of at that level. A montage, well, I don't remember any montages in this film, but I don't know if it would have even worked in this film. A villain speech, you can't get Killian to shut up. A final showdown, yeah, but it's over pretty quick. And oh crap for our bad guy, maybe the first time you see it. After that, you start questioning, just like you did, Don, about the explosion and sliding and taking off. It didn't live up to what I think it could have been. Franchise potential, I don't know if I see franchise, but it definitely did lead to spin-offs and reality shows like American Gladiators. And it came in at 101 minutes, which gets it close to that 90-minute runtime that we were looking for. High body count, we had, I believe, 32 deaths in this movie that we saw on screen. This does not include all the ones off screen at the massacre, as well as the ones that were already killed, or the guys in the locker room. So taking that all into account, for my fuck rating, I'm going to give this movie 3.25 fucks.
3.25 fucks from the comic book guy. Do you want to go or you want me to go?
You know what? I'm willing to go next. I'll go.
All right. Fire away, Professor.
Well, let's talk a little bit about The Running Man. The Running Man is a classic Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. You hear The Running Man and you instantly think of that yellow spandex that Schwarzenegger wears in the movie. And I think that it plays itself off as a typical 80s action movie. It sits right in the middle of the genre. Even though it doesn't necessarily fulfill all of the things that you would hope to see in an 80s action movie, I feel like the heart of it is there. You have lots of cheesy one-liners. You have people that are being killed in elaborate ways. You also have a tendency to have somebody that is in a perilous situation. And for the most part, I didn't necessarily see a lot of violence in a gratuitous way. There was violence, of course, but there wasn't necessarily gratuitous violence. And people have a tendency to die in a lot of different ways, not necessarily just gunfire, but in different ways, with different pieces of, whatever it might be. We have the saw, we have the electricity, we have the barbed wire. And so I thought that, this really feels like a movie that you don't need to take too seriously. And I think it's a good Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. It's definitely not my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, but it is something that I feel does a pretty good job at feeling the essence of it's a game show. And I really enjoyed how it was portrayed, showing the masses enjoying this silly show. And you know what? I'm willing to go along for the ride because it seems like a pretty fun movie. The tone isn't necessarily all that somber, bleak, or dark. Killian, I think, really makes this movie. Without him, it's not going to be The Running Man. Having him on screen as much as he was, I felt like he was every bit as much of an essence of the story arc as Richards was. And the two of them together, even though they spend very little time together on screen, I thought that both of them together really made the movie work for being a fun, lighthearted, if you will, action movie. The other supporting characters, I thought that they did fine. And I enjoyed having our different characters as over the top as they were. As I've stated previously, you don't have that much time. You need to have kind of sort of over the top people a little bit because you don't have that much time on screen. And so they need to be instantly identifiable. And because of that, they're kind of two-dimensional. They're not necessarily rich in their characters. They're very cardboard, if you will. But in general, I think that this is a pretty good movie, and it is definitely something that I think that Arnold can look back and say that that is an Arnold movie in its classic 80 cents. I'm giving this 2.75 fucks.
2.75 fucks from the professor.
So that just leaves you, Don.
Oh, I guess it does, doesn't it? Running Man, 1987. Like you were saying, Professor, this is one of the classic Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. I think that Arnold is charming in this, and I appreciate his one-liners. And, you know, for a long time, for me, it was growing up, were you an Arnold guy or were you a Sly guy? And I think to this day, I'm still a Sly guy, but that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. This particular one, it has problems, I guess. And it's weird to say that because we're talking about, you know, over the top this, over the top that, but some things I just couldn't, you know, let go. For one, the stalkers. There could have been so much more to it, and there could have been more action, and we could have seen more hand-to-hand fights, this, that, and the other. But this film was shot really dark, and a lot of it sometimes is hard to see. And I get that because you can get away with more if it's dark and the audience will just buy it. But for me, these gladiator scenes were just kind of mediocre at best. And from Sub-Zero all the way down to Fireball, they just they showed up and then they were done and they were gone. And I get it. It's an hour and, 41 minutes. So you can't really do a whole lot there. But I guess at the end of the day, I was just expecting more. And, Arnold's one-liners are fine. They kind of grow on you and they kind of even grate on you at the same time as time goes on. As far as the villain, Killian was a good villain. He wasn't very intimidating and he wasn't foreboding. And he's nothing like the Night Stalker.
Slasher.
And, so I think that the villain... he was okay in The Running Man. He was just okay. Overall, it's a fun movie. It is memorable. I remember when I saw it. It will always be one of those movies where you're going, oh, yeah, The Running Man. I'm super happy it's on this list. And I am giving The Running Man 3 fucks.
Wow, we're all pretty much in agreement. That doesn't happen very often.
So with a score from the professor of 2.75 and 3.25 from the comic book guy and a 3 from myself, that gives The Running Man an average fuck rating of 3 fucks. With Cobra coming in at 2.6 and The Running Man coming at 3.0, we now have a leader in the race for the 80s greatest action flicks.
According to the 3 guys.
According to the 3 guys.
And clearly, this is better than Cobra.
I wouldn't say clearly. I rated Cobra higher.
Okay, but clearly this is better than Cobra.
I wouldn't say clearly.
Well, according to Ken and I.
Okay, but think about, there's a lot more action. There's a lot more one-liners. Granted, we don't have a car chase to it, and we don't necessarily have a nefarious villain, but our villain, I think, is a stronger villain in this one.
I have to agree with you.
I strongly disagree with both of you.
I liked this villain better, mainly because, kind of like you pointed out, Ken, he has a lot more screen time. He has a lot more great one-liners, and I felt like he had a lot more power than the Night Slasher. Yeah. He had more control.
I thought the Night Slasher was more menacing, and I thought every time he was on screen, I was uneasy. When Killian's on screen, he's just another fucking character to me. He's just another corporate megalomaniac who wants to take over the world. You know what I mean? I think there were more stakes with the Night Slasher, but that's just me. All right, so this last week we reviewed The Running Man, which was Schwarzenegger, and the week before that we did Cobra, which was Stallone. That leaves us Jean-Claude, Kurt Russell, Chuck Norris, and Patrick Swayze. If you want to know which movie we are going to review next, be sure to check out our website or any other of the social media platforms that we are on. And speaking of which, John, where can they find us?
They can find us at our website, 3guysandaflick.com, where we post all of our podcasts, show notes, and movie trivia. You can also, as Don mentioned, find us at any of the social media websites, as well as any place that posts podcasts.
All right. I just want to thank Zach, Ronnie, and Jill for always listening.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Ronnie. Thanks, Jill.
And thanks to everybody who else listens to us and supports us. If you listen to us on Apple, be sure to go and give us 5 stars. It really helps the podcast grow. For 3 Guys in a Flick, I'm Don.
I'm John.
And I'm Ken. And if you'd like to be a contestant on The Running Man, send a self-addressed stamped envelope to ICS Talent Hunt, care of your local affiliate. And then go out and do something really despicable. I'm Ken. And have a good night and take care.
I'll tell you what I think of it. I live to see you eat that contract, but I hope you leave enough room for my spit, because I'm going to ram it down your stomach and break your goddamn spine. All this time I was fucking around with the quote and you couldn't have fixed your mic then?
Nope.
And you know who the goalie is? Do you remember who the goalie is?
Mm-mm.
Whoa.
Keanu Reeves?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's like 1987. It's fucking brilliant. I love that movie.
Is that the extent of your Keanu Reeves impression?
Guns. We need lots of guns. I just really wish I knew what I was supposed to do. You're the one, Neo. The one what? I don't know what to do. I spent one movie trying to figure it out, and then I spent the other 2 movies trying to figure it out, and I still fucking haven't figured it out.
God. Populist. Doesn't matter. He has to say it again now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so say it again.
You guys fucking suck. Captain Obvious picks her up.
Remember, I can break your neck like a chicken.
Because he just showed her by lifting up the fucking thing, right?
How many times have you said that to me?
Ooh, me?
Yeah.
To you?
Yeah.
All the fucking time.
Now, the real question is, who had the better car, Cobra or Dynamo?
Are you fucking high? Are you doing fucking drugs before the show?
Are you going to make me pee in a cup again?
I fucking just might. All right, fuck off. Good night.